Hey everybody, I wanted to go over a few quick tips about the Alatreon fight. The first of which is going in prepared. In particular for this fight, you should be using an overlay, and I suggest using Hunter Pie. You get to see the monster's health, its weaknesses, and for Alatreon, you get to see the sort of Nova health bar. It shows you how close you are to obtaining the topple, because this number will vary depending on whether you are solo or in your group. You can see if your group is lagging behind in the elemental damage. I also like using its DPS meter simply to see how I'm comparing to other players. It gives me pointers and tips for how to improve my build when I see someone doing better than me, or it lets me help other players when I see them lagging behind. Save your CC for the dragon phase. She's very dangerous in the air. She has moves that are a little more difficult to see coming. You should be trying to throw her from the air with a slinger burst and not trying to throw her into the wall. It is very difficult. You should be saving your paralyze, your sleeps, your flashes. Save that all for dragon phase 2. It is very difficult to get a KO, so don't focus on that. In particular, you cannot flash her when enraged, and the only weapon I would suggest going for the mount is the Encyclave. Ledge hopping with the hammer, I found it very hard to consistently get a mount. This is all vitally important because in phase 2, if you're going in with a single element, say she starts on fire and you're going in with ice, if you do not break her horns, even if you got the elemental topple, okay, you've weakened her Nova, but if you don't break the horns, she will then shift to ice. And since you are using an ice weapon, you are now doing 0 element damage, and you will not be able to topple her, and so her next Nova will wipe your group. So save your CC for save 2, so you can get your horn breaks. But that goes into my tip number 3, and my tip would be to not take opposing elemental damage. I know this seems very counterintuitive, but if you look at this chart here, the most generally effective elements are water and thunder, especially if you're going in with pugs, and you are unsure whether you will get the horn break. I would suggest going in with water or thunder. Water for if she begins in fire, and thunder if she begins in ice. Yes, you'll be doing more damage if you took fire or ice, but if you cannot ensure that her horns will be broken, you will then be doing 0 element damage should she shift elements. Our next tip would be safe zones and iframes. I often see people running about on the map, especially the bowgun players. I know that you want to pierce through as many parts of her as possible and get the most damage, but really, for everyone, the safest zones are her hind legs. Her hind legs are always on the ground if she's not flying, if she's doing her lightning attacks, her roars, or her pins. All of those she rears up, and while you might get better damage on her head or her front legs, you're not going to get that much lower damage on her rear legs, and you would just be waiting on her to come back down. So stick to her rear legs, even if you're a ranged player. It is often the safest area. I can consistently do my combos on her rear legs with my hammer. The lightning hardly ever hits you. If she pivots, then you are hitting her front because she pivoted to like swipe at you. Whereas if you're hitting her front and she pivots away, then she's a mile away. Stay on her at all times, even during her Nova. I see everyone going to the outsides of the arena, sitting on their health boosters. Whether you're on the outside or where you're standing right on her for the Nova, it doesn't matter. It all does the same damage. It's all fixed damage. So always stay on her, even during the Nova. During the Nova, you should be putting your health booster down right on her. You should be softening her for when the Nova's over. You should be buffing up your group with Might Seeds and Demon Powder if you have wide range. Stay on her at all times, because her most dangerous attacks are going to be the ones from in front of her, her breath attacks. But she won't be doing those, and they'll be far easier to dodge if you're right on her. Especially her aerial sweeping attack, one of my most hated moves. Stick right under her, and you'll be fine. And with iframes, don't rush, don't tunnel vision on doing damage. It's often her follow-up attacks that will get you. So be methodical, don't spam your attacks. If you get knocked down, don't stand up right away. because you have iframes when you stand up. So if you don't know what attack she's going to do and you're in the middle of your standing animation and then she drops her lightning field or her fire breath on you, you're going to get hit again. And it's very often in this fight can seem frustrating when you're always on the ground. I have an analogy where if she was a Magic the Gathering player, she would play blue magic because it is always her turn. You get tossed around, and you say, okay, you did your move, I'm gonna do my move. No, 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 it's my turn. It's my turn. I'm gonna do my move again. She knocks you down. Like, oh my god, it's my turn. No, 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 it's always my turn. Learn the telegraphs, outspace attacks. Many of them can just be walked through, and most everything can be dodged through. But be very careful with your iframes. Okay, now you've watched all of her attacks, you've learned when you are free to attack. Now you want to learn when it's free to clutch on her. Because again, this is one of the most frustrating things in this fight. You clutch on her head, and she does a lightning attack, and it throws you off because of the lightning energy. And you clutch on her tail to soften her because you're playing bow, and she throws you off because she does the dragon energy, and the dragon energy throws you off. A lot of the times in this fight, you might not have your weakness exploit active. It's not the best fight to be relying on agitator and weakness exploit, but the times I found that are most free for getting on her and getting her softens are going to be when she likes to do her downward breath attacks in fire and ice for the area denial. She has a telegraph she does before that, so I like to latch on her, so while she's spraying the ground, I'm up there punishing that move and softening her. Or when she does her spinny aerial water or fire attack, I'm on her and not worried about running around like a chicken with its head cut off because it's a very hard move to dodge consistently. So what have we learned? 1. I believe you should be using Hunter Pie to have the information you need handy. 2. That you should save your CCs for when you need to ground her from the air. 3. Staying together is often the best strategy. 4. Iframes and clutch should be used very carefully. And most importantly, 5. This may come down to your team composition, but I believe water and thunder may be more beneficial elements than fire and ice. I hope these tips were somewhat enlightening and information that you could take into other fights and apply them more generally.